In the winter of 2026, Washington was tense. President Trump, back for a second term, led a Republican Party with only a slim majority. The GOP faced economic unease, slipping poll numbers, and a base demanding action, while swing voters watched closely. Beneath the surface, anxiety ran deep. Trump's return emboldened him, demanding loyalty and leaving lawmakers uneasy. The party stood on a precipice, forced to choose between unity and survival. The old rules no longer applied. The winter would test and transform the GOP. For President Trump, the mandate of his 2024 victory was simple: finish the job. His agenda was a series of non-negotiable demands, not open to debate. Immigration crackdown topped the list. Foreign policy was America first, keeping allies and adversaries off balance. On healthcare, the mission: dismantle the Affordable Care Act, starting with its subsidies. Dissent was not tolerated. Loyalty was the only currency that mattered. Trump demanded total unity from GOP leaders. It was a loyalty test, one that would define the opening chapter of Trump's second term. In the frozen streets of Minneapolis, a protest against harsh immigration tactics turned deadly when federal agents shot Alex Pretty, an ICU nurse. The White House called Pretty a domestic terrorist, but viral videos told a different story, of chaos and escalation. Public outrage soared, polls shifted, and even Republicans began to break ranks. Congressional leaders demanded answers, and Trump, sensing danger, ordered a review and softened his tone. To critics, it was retreat. To his base, a tactical move. But the GOP's unity had cracked. The Minneapolis shooting exposed deep divides, but the first major legislative break came over healthcare. When Enhanced Affordable Care Act subsidies expired, millions faced soaring costs. The Trump administration refused to renew them, sparking panic among constituents. 17 House Republicans broke ranks, voting with Democrats to restore the subsidies. For many, it was a choice between party loyalty and their voters' needs. Casting that vote meant risking political backlash. Their defiance sent a clear message. On healthcare, constituents came first. The consequences of this brave stand would soon become clear. Just as the dust was settling from the House healthcare rebellion, a second front opened in the more deliberative and typically more cautious United States Senate. The issue was foreign policy, specifically the president's increasingly bellicose rhetoric and covert actions aimed at destabilizing the socialist government in Venezuela. Fearing an undeclared and unauthorized military conflict, a bipartisan group led by Democrats and libertarian-leaning Republicans like Rand Paul brought a war powers resolution to the floor. The measure was designed to reassert congressional authority and force the president to seek approval before escalating hostilities, a direct check on his executive power. Initially, it looked as if the rebellion might have legs. In a crucial procedural vote, 5 Republican senators crossed the aisle to advance the measure. The reliably independent Lisa Murkowski and Susan Collins, the non-interventionist Rand Paul, and, most surprisingly, 2 rising conservative stars, Josh Hawley of Missouri and Todd Young of Indiana. Their support sent shockwaves through the White House. Hawley and Young were not moderates. They were ambitious conservatives with presidential aspirations, men who had carefully cultivated their bona fides with the MAGA base. Their defection suggested that the unease with Trump's unilateralism ran deeper than anyone suspected. The logic of the rebels was rooted in constitutional principle. They argued that the power to declare war belonged to Congress, not the president, and that Trump's actions in Venezuela were creeping dangerously close to a line that the legislature had a duty to enforce. This isn't about this president or the last president, Senator Hawley stated in a floor speech. It is about this body reclaiming its constitutional prerogative, a duty we have shirked for far too long. For a brief moment, it appeared that an alliance of strange bedfellows, anti-war liberals, constitutional conservatives and institutionalists might actually succeed in slapping the president's wrist. The vote to proceed was a high watermark for the GOP revolt. It was a tangible victory, a sign that perhaps the fever of absolute loyalty was breaking. Commentators and analysts breathlessly reported that Trump was losing his grip, that the party was finally reasserting itself as an independent branch of government. In the Senate cloakroom, there was a palpable sense of gravity, a feeling that a significant line had been crossed. But this moment of defiance was fleeting. The system that Trump had built, a rapid response network of media allies, enraged grassroots activists and vengeful donors, was already kicking into gear, preparing to make an example of those who had dared to defy him. When a handful of Republicans broke ranks, President Trump saw it as personal betrayal and struck back hard. His weapon, public humiliation, unleashed through furious Truth Social posts. 17 rhinos just voted to save Obamacare, he raged. Primary them all. He singled out Senate rebels, mocking their ambitions and threatening their futures. MAGA media and influencers amplified the attacks, flooding defectors with threats and outrage. Even donors joined in, pulling support and sending a clear message. Disloyalty has a price. The backlash was swift and overwhelming. The Republican rebels, once imagining themselves as profiles in courage, were quickly isolated and under siege. Senators cracked first, reversing course under intense pressure from party leaders and the White House. Hawley and Young flipped, and the resolution failed, handing President Trump a clean victory. MAGA-aligned challengers emerged, and the defectors were left stranded, abandoned by party leadership. The brief rebellion fizzled into failure, a cautionary tale whispered in the GOP cloakroom. The failed revolt of early 2026 wasn't about principle or public opinion. The rebels often reflected the majority, but the real power was Trump and the MAGA movement's grip on the GOP. For Republican lawmakers, the greatest threat isn't Democrats, but a primary challenger with Trump's approval. Dissent collapsed quickly. The base rewards loyalty and punishes any criticism of Trump. Ambitious lawmakers knew survival meant embracing the base. In the end, every failed act of defiance proved it. The party is Trump, and Trump is the party. The failed rebellions of 2026 did more than quell dissent. They transformed the Republican Party, making it more loyal to Donald Trump than ever. Each act of defiance was met with backlash, isolation and defeat, reinforcing Trump's grip. The lesson was clear: challenge the leader and you lose, while he grows stronger. Political survival now depends on unwavering loyalty, not principle. For now, the bond between Trump and his party seems truly unbreakable.